sequence trigger is a trigger that activates different triggers in a sequence that you set up. The sequence trigger can be used to make dialogues, combos, breaking blocks, or anything that you can think of that requires some sort of an activation in the sequence. Anyways, let's talk about this in detail. This is the sequence trigger that we're going to be talking about today in detail. So when we go inside the edit object, we can see this pop up. The group ID is what you can assign as an element. For example, when I have like another trigger, perhaps like a move trigger, and then I add a group to it, I can add it in the sequence, so I can add it as a sequence element. And it can go on as for many groups as you want. But count adds like a count to the element in the sequence trigger on how much times does the element have to be triggered. So currently we only have to trigger it once, and then we will move on to the second element or whatever. But when we add count 3 perhaps, then we have to activate this element 3 times in order to move on to the next sequence element. We can also remove the sequence element with the minus button, and also we can select this sequence elements and then move around with these arrow buttons. This is the minimum interval, where we can assign a interval time between how fast we can move on to the other element. So currently we can just instantly activate it as fast as possible, but when we add an interval, then it will allow us to activate the sequence trigger that instantly. It has to have like a cooldown, and that's what this minimum interval does. Then over here we have 3 buttons: mode stop, mode loop, and mode last. Mode stop makes the sequence stop after it has went through all the elements in the sequence trigger. Mode loop makes it go back to the beginning when the sequence has reached its end. And mode last makes it only activate the last element when it has reached its end. Then we also have the reset slider, reset full, and reset step. This is where you can reset the elements that are in the sequence trigger. Let me show you how it actually works. So I have many of these triggers that are in their own groups. They are the elements in the sequence trigger. And I activate the sequence trigger all the way to here. Now, the reset full checkbox means that when nothing is activated, in this instant, the sequence trigger isn't activated, then it will reset all the way back to the beginning, starting from the first element. But reset step is when it will reset backwards just by like 1 element. It will do the reset countdown, and when that's reached, it will go back 1 element. When it's reached again, then it's going to be going back again till it reaches the beginning again. And to tell you, it doesn't have much of a use when you're using it as an ordinary trigger. It only has like more of a use when you use it as a touch trigger or the spawn trigger, and most specifically also when it can be multi-trigger, because that's what you need. And unique remap, it doesn't even show what does it do in the GD editor guide. It doesn't even show what unique remap even is. So I cannot really explain what it does. So this is basically it. An explanatory video about the sequence trigger. Make sure to give a like and also subscribe for more tutorials like these. Goodbye.